Last week I contemplated celebrating my 100th country of Egypt, and the contemplation has come to life. Egypt was my 100th country last year. Jordan was 101. In Egypt, I actually procured a souvenir, which is very out of character for me ever since I started solo backpacking. I've decided to stop buying souvenirs for the most part because I have many from my 7 continents achievement, and it's enough. I've concentrated more on photos and especially video as my souvenirs. I also collect freebies, which are local low denomination coins and other such things that I come across. Rocks, shells, feathers, tea bags, anything that's free. So that's been my MO. I've actually started a new habit, which is collecting sand, but in small souvenir bottles. For example, in the hotels and other places you stay, you often come across these tiny bottles of shampoo and other such things. I just basically use it all up and then fill it with tiny bottles of sand. Before, I even used to fill large drinking bottles, 500 milliliters worth, but I have encountered some problems in customs when I returned from Africa with sand from Namibia in a 500 ml water bottle. They threw some sort of obscure regulation at me. Luckily, I had also filled smaller bottles with the same sand, so those were, I guess, okay, but it's hard to know. Even as somebody who's traveled to 101 countries, flown many times on many different airlines through many different airports, like customs in different countries really depends on the person that you're dealing with at the time. It is what it is. The souvenir that I procured in Egypt is a hieroglyphic necklace. The pendant itself is silver, and it might be difficult to see. There we go. This basically spells out Steph, S-T-E-P-H, in hieroglyphics. Now, you might have heard of some people entering tattoo shops and being hoodwinked by others who say, oh, this Chinese tattoo means this, and they have something instead of love, they have fuck, or who knows what. At least I can cross-reference with this legend. I'm sure this legend exists somewhere online. And I have cross-reference, indeed the hieroglyphs are my name. The back is also engraved with some sort of lucky charm. I forgot what I chose. Ah, here it is. So, we have 3 symbols at the back of this. Again, I might have to figure out how to actually show things in detail. I'll hope that this comes out. The top character means long life. As I've said before, long life can be a gift and an imposition. That depends. If you have long life with good quality of life, doing things you absolutely want at about 80 to 95% happiness on a 100% scale, then yeah, life is worth continuing. As many people well know about me, I'm an anti-natalist, so I have neither here nor there in terms of attaching myself to the cult of life. I've always said, as soon as this life becomes very obviously more suffering than happiness, then I'm out. The second hieroglyph is protection. And the third is good luck. Okay, long life, protection, good luck. Sure, I guess. Okay, then as a celebration of Country 101, I choreographed a dance using the modern slash hip hop inspired dance style tutting. What I mean is the modern hip hop style that's Egypt influenced. It's called tutting, and as I explained last time, tutting is a form of dancing that concentrates heavily on 90-degree angles with your body. That's something that if you search on the internet, you'll see that many hieroglyphs and ancient Egyptian depictions show the 90-degree angles with the arms, the legs, and everything else. So tutting is a style of dance that concentrates on precise 90-degree angles. This is where the yoga has helped me with a foundation, because I've always stretched my wrists for health and happiness reasons, but that translated very well to me being able to do 90s relatively easily compared to others, because I can actually stretch beyond 90. Now, I mentioned last time there's a difference between having something to hold a 90 versus free holding a 90. And that's something that I've worked on. I did something different too, because I'm sit tutting. The sit tutting is because I wanted to also show some interesting, intricate 90 degrees with my feet, although admittedly, I'm still working on my coordination to be able to do top body and bottom body at the same time. This is day 95 of breakdancing, and I'm happy with the progress that I've made, but the thing that keeps me motivated to dance during these difficult times is because I have so much to learn and I have so much that I can improve on. I really enjoy this because, as I said, it really mixes everything that can help keep a person happy and healthy during these difficult times. Number one, I'm exercising. Number two, I'm in the fresh air. Number three, I'm being creative. So dance has been something that I've really enjoyed picking up, and as I mentioned before, if for whatever reason I'm gonna have to rely on breakdancing as being my extreme sport and extreme activity and adventurous activity for the year, then so be it. I would have preferred to progress in my scuba diving skills. Last year I obtained my PADI open water. The problem is that scuba diving is probably one of the worst activities in light of this pandemic, because you have many things going into your mouth and you're breathing out of a tank. If anything is contaminated along that system, you have problems. I would much prefer the dive shops to figure out how they are proceeding post-COVID, and then once they've figured out all of their procedures, perhaps enter into that again. The problem, another one, is pricing. Everybody and their mom is basically passing along the additional costs of sanitation, procedures, etc. onto the customer, and that basically prices many people out because people are already struggling with record unemployment. Adding additional costs for those things, we'll have to see. We really will. As I mentioned many times before, I'm actually really happy that I had, I guess you could call, the foresight to just live my life the way I wanted to, because many things that I was able to do since 2013 in adventure and adventure traveling looks much more difficult and expensive now. So I have no regrets. Those closest to me have no regrets, the ones who've traveled with me. I'm happy with that. If I have to defer my energy to something like breakdancing, which is accessible and something that I can do anywhere, then that'll have to be it. I've created an entire dance portfolio this year that I'm very proud of, and I guess I'll just have to continue if that's the way the world goes. As I've mentioned before, the last trip that included Egypt also included much insight into the ancient world. Italy, Rome, I've been to before, but this time I added Greece, and many ideas about human nature and history coalesced for me on that trip. Adding on top of that my trip to Africa, where I observed different species in their natural habitats and experienced the sensual world with them, sharing sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and touches. I just realized that, especially if you have very few things legitimately in your way, you should go all in. You should do the poker all in. Now, of course, this is very easy for me to say now because I did the all in and I ended up winning big. I won against the house, which is the survivalist game of life. I feel like I've won, and that's a very good position to be in, but very few people are in that position. So all I would say is that I think the current times have revealed to us the precariousness of this life. Many people have been lulled into thinking that we somehow can have infinite progress and growth, and that the pie is infinitely large for everyone to share. I mean, for fuck's sake, let's get real, people. That's never really been the case, but if you were born and live in a developed country like me, you maybe never really realized that you actually have a very finite time scale to do all the things you want. So, this is coming off as, nah, I told you so, but it is what it is. I'm just reiterating things that I have often talked about in my travel talks. Those of you who have attended one of my talks live, I've now done a combined probably over a dozen hours or more, delving more into mindset than traveling per se. Because mindset is key. Mindset is the foundation. If you ain't got the right mindset to travel or live the life you want, nothing will ever motivate you to actually do it. So, now that I have set up the dance and worked my way into the dance groove, I'll probably dance in a couple minutes. Yes, I'm wearing a pseudo costume again because when I have the opportunity to, I do have a lot of clothes. I used to be a fashionista. That's something that weaves into my travel story, where I now shun many of the materialistic things I used to do. I recognize for me that I used to be that because I was still trying to play the game, play that survivalist game, and that was the way that I felt like I belonged. But now I know better. Now I've gone all in on experience as opposed to materialism, and that has been one of the major changes I've made and one of the happiest changes I've made. But I still have bling bling from old Stephanie life. So this helps set the scene for the dance. And I'll probably start now. Now's a good time. like 2 weeks ago, I might actually do a second pass of that song. Because some weeks I actually just dance without recording to see how it looks. I'm experimenting with different ways to improve my dance. Now, the thing that I found the best and easiest is to actually record myself before I perform on Wednesday so that I have an idea of what it looks like. But like 2 weeks ago, for some reason, this piece was a last minute choreography. I only finalized it today, and I had about an hour of practice, and that was it. So it's been an interesting ride. I've compared many different types of dancing and different levels of practice. I would say the funnest for me is still freestyle, but the thing about choreography and practicing new moves is that it eventually does help your freestyle. I think my freestyle is better now that I have done some strict practice, learning breaking and other dancing fundamentals, but suffice to say, I've yet to really return to freestyle for now because I am very focused on practicing fundamentals. This tutting dance was a lot of fun. When I started watching America's Best Dance Crew about a decade or so ago when it was out, the thing that actually caught my attention was Quest Crew and specifically Hot with his hand tuts. Now back then, I never had a solid plan on how to learn how to dance. I just basically watched a pro and tried to copy him without a tutorial. Needless to say, I completely botched that. But because of that experience, I now know how to approach things in a systematic manner. Back then, I was really just doing it for fun. I never had a goal to necessarily improve. I just wanted to do something cool with my hands. Now I've been through the paces and I know much better how to practice and how to approach dancing. So with that said, I'm actually going to repeat my choreography again, and I might even repeat it a third time. We'll see how I feel about it. I just want to have a couple passes on tape, and I noticed last time that I did this, there were things that I developed in doing it repetitively that I ended up liking, that were semi-freestyle. Because I have a structure on how I want the choreography to be. I have a choreography, but sometimes when you do it in the moment, that moment in time brings its creativity, and I like that. So instead of doing a choreography and a couple freestyles, I'm actually just going to repeat choreography maybe 1 or 2 more times. So I'm going to go again 1 more time. So I have 2 passes in. We'll see. I'll start talking again, and maybe I'll do it a 3rd time, or maybe I'll leave it at that. The person who actually has a complete sitting-ish routine, or at least not standing routine, is a dancer named Mary Poppins, as in Poppins. Now, as the play on word suggests, she is predominantly a pop lock botter, and that's the style of dance that she does. She's taught at Millennium in LA and has a number of showcases on World of Dance, so she's a professional. The only person that I searched in YouTube who has the type of dance that I was looking for inspiration is her. Other than that, I have learned tutorials from Ditto and Bram, who are both experts in, again, pop locking, and they have a number of what you call just basic bot moves that you can then tie into a program and a choreography routine. Now, I think that one thing I've noticed in reviewing my own tape and being my own coach is that I'm rather slow. I'm rather slow in some of these dances, and that's okay because that's an element of this style of dance. They, if you watch, start usually quite slow and they pick up the pace. I had my version of picking up the pace, but again, to compare yourself to professionals is always a tall order. The only thing I look to do is to make sure that I'm improving myself time after time. So, you know what? I'm going to do my choreography for a 3rd time because I'm feeling it. And we'll see how it goes. Yeah, 3rd time. Okay, that's the 3rd time I've done it. I'm more or less happy with the choreography. Like I said, I really just compare to myself and want continual improvement from day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute. I hope that I can smooth out the choreography process a little more like I did for my first few ones starting on the weekly schedule. I actually choreographed on a Thursday and had an entire week to practice. I think that's probably when the product, the dance itself, comes out the best. But as I've mentioned before with guitar or with any other creativity like dance, Muse is a finicky bitch. It likes to do what it wants to do, and sometimes you're feeling motivated and creative and things flow really quickly. Sometimes I like the pressure of a self-imposed deadline, which is what these Wednesdays are. I'm happy that I've been doing this because it actually forces at least some creativity out of me. Maybe the creativity is half-baked, but at least it's something to build on, and that's what I'm looking for. Instead of always waiting for things to be perfect, I think I'd rather have something for me to look at, and if I'm going to record, I might as well make it live. That's always been my MO when it comes to creativity, because I might as well share. Now, obviously, my audience is relatively small, but it's still there, and I've received comments and compliments, and also trashy disses, so it is what it is. If my art is making you feel things, whatever it is, roll with it and go with it.